day today, guys. Got up this morning to leave. It was misty. It wasn't raining, but by the time I got to work, everything was pretty much had water drops on it. Very humid. It's upper 60s now. Everything dried up, but it's still really humid. It's been cloudy. It's kind of a dreary day, and that is perfectly fitting for where I am, I guess. It's April 27th, 2017. Some of you may know tomorrow is the 5th year mark of when my wife and I lost our son. Our son Nathan, he was 26, so he would be 31 now. Our only child. It is very weird you just feel very alone, you know, after having him with us. He lived with us all of those 26 years, and now it's just us. I mean, we still have relatives and our parents, but it's just weird. I've just been really dumpy all week. I'm not going to work tomorrow. My wife and I will go to the cemetery with some flowers. It's about 15 minutes from where we live. And neither of us really want to be alone tomorrow. I definitely don't want to be at work. So if it falls on a weekday, I always take off and just make sure we're there for each other. Sometimes friends will come by, our friends or his friends, who we were always very close with, and he had a lot of friends. Or they'll text or email or call. You know, we never know from one year to the next. But it's nice that people are thinking of us. We have an excellent community of friends from our congregation. But even with all that, it's such a deeply painful emotion, grief. And 5 years on the one hand may sound like a long time, but what I am experiencing, after about year 2, the healing, grieving, recovery process seemed to hit a plateau. And I've been at that same spot ever since. I think that time builds a cocoon around this wound inside of your heart. It's just like a scab that never goes away. It's always there. You know it's there. You don't necessarily want to revisit it and poke it or anything. But at any given moment, at any time or place, something can hit you right between the eyes. You know, I have people at work, some people at work remember him from when he was a little boy. I took him to work a few times over the years when he was probably, 10, around that age, early teens. If my wife was sick and he needed to do a school or something, a few times. So some people remember him from them when he was little. Other people never met him, but they got to know about him through me. Nathan was very intelligent, very funny, and he always had a story or an adventure. In his last years, he worked, obviously, and I could always count on him to call me up with a story. And sometimes they're so funny, I'd go out and tell my coworkers, and they'd laugh. So even though they never met him, they knew a lot about him from me. And so some of them are still here at my job, and all I have to say to them is, tomorrow is 5 years, and then they know the rest. They know exactly what I'm talking about. But people will say, I can't imagine. That's probably what my wife and I hear the most when we talk to people, because it's a natural thing to say. And what I usually say to them is, you're right, you can't. I know I couldn't before. Until I went through this experience, I had no idea how awful it could be. And it is, I mean, look, I suppose somebody could physically torture me or something. I don't know how you'd compare one kind of pain to another, but for all intents and purposes, it's the most painful thing I'm going to go through in life. I'm pretty sure of that. Just pause here for a minute and say that Nathan absolutely loved outdoors, hiking, hunting, countryside. He was at home. He grew up in the mountainous area here in Northeast PA. So this was like his kind of country. I always think of him when I'm out riding. Anyway, it's pretty horrible in terms of the emotional pain, and there's really not a whole lot you can do except try to get through the really low points. As some of you may know, the reason why I ride is a direct result. I literally was just so low. I needed something, and even though I had other hobbies and things, nothing was really doing it. And there was literally only one thing I could think of that made me feel any enthusiasm about, doing something, and it was riding. And, I was thinking about it today, and I think part of it is that when you're riding, at least when I'm riding, I'm so laser focused on everything going on around me. In front of me, behind me, what's on the road, deer, all that. There's not much room in the brain, in the consciousness, to think about anything else. So the emotional pain is usually not present when I'm riding. And besides that, riding is quite exhilarating in its own right. And in addition to the actual riding, just everything about biking, whether it's doing repairs or mods or learning or stuff like that, even doing vlogs, all those things are, for me, a healthy outlet. So Nathan had taken the MSF class, passed it. He had his motorcycle endorsement. He didn't have a bike yet. It was something that he wanted to do in the future. I do have a picture of him holding his helmet, and he had this pair of gloves, a pair of Cortec gloves that you would see on a sport bike, that style of glove. And he was smaller than me. I could not fit in the gloves, and I had them on a shelf for a few years with other things of his that I decided to keep. So when I got into riding, I thought, boy, it's such a shame that I can't fit into those gloves. And I thought, you know what? So I sold the gloves, and I used the money to get myself my own pair of Cortec gloves. Pretty similar style to his. He liked blacks. Everything he had was black. I like blue. But these gloves are not typically found on a Harley rider's hands, but I love them, and it's something that is kind of a connection to Nathan. So that was one thing I did. I have a few other things like that. But anyway, I have a picture of him holding his helmet down in my garage where my gear is. And I have his initials on my bike. Things like that. So he had some of his friends ride today, and like his friend Josh and Tyler, who I've ridden with recently. And, you know, they always say, you know, Nathan should be with us right now. And that's so true. I have met some people over the years who've lost children. And it is interesting because everybody's different, everybody's unique. But there's definitely an immediate connection when you talk to someone that has gone through that. They get it. In a large way, they get it. And I'll share some of the feelings that I have, and they're just nodding. And they'll say things back to me that I've thought about and felt also. You know, I am so blessed that my parents are still alive, and I love them very much. But from a young age, you do have that understanding that there will come a day when your parents aren't with you anymore. And for some people, that tragically it happens at a young age. But the idea that your son or your daughter will not be here one day, that's not a normal thing. It might be a fear that a parent has, absolutely. But it's not something that, like, yeah, that's going to happen one day. I mean, that's the furthest thing from your mind. So it has been said that that is like the most difficult, painful loss for a person to go through. And I, unfortunately, would have to concur. So I just, you know, it's weird. You just, it's difficult to feel happy. You can actually feel guilt for a momentary, fleeting feeling of happy. Like, oh, I shouldn't feel that. It's strange how the mind works. For a while, I would have this thing in my brain, like, you know, something would happen, and I'd be like, oh, I gotta tell Nathan, and I'd like grab my phone, and then it would be like, no, I can't, that's not possible anymore. And just all kinds of things like that that you experience and go through. And, you know, we have the Bible-based resurrection hope, which we firmly believe in. We firmly, solidly believe we will see our son again. But the illustration or example that I've shared with people would be like if you lost a limb and it's excruciatingly painful day in and day out. Even if you know one day you're going to be whole again, that's great, and that's a comfort, and that's something that you can look forward to. But you still have to live with the pain that you experience on a daily basis, and that's kind of where we are. So for me, becoming a rider, getting a bike, has been a very big help. That's probably not possible for everyone. My wife has no interest in that, but she does have things that she still enjoys, which I'm very glad for. But it's a challenge. You know, it's a challenge to keep going and being useful in life, because you can feel very useless. There's a very strong tendency to just isolate yourself and not want to be with anyone, do anything with anyone, just isolate. But we try to not give in to that. Anyway, this might have gotten a little longer than I intended. As always, I appreciate people watching and listening. I certainly hope that you all don't experience anything like this, but if you have, you know what I'm talking about. So, I'm about halfway home. Just going to try to not be too negative over the next couple days and just keep going. So that's all I got. Until next time.